Welcome back to the program. Lee Freedman and Keith Hillier, Keith's always special, and Lee's our really special guest this morning. A bit casual today, but I like the look, Lee.
You like the look? Oh, that's better. You know, I get sick of wearing suits.
Oh, don't we all? Don't we all? Yesterday, we're going to do Sydney races after this break. Max Presnell will join us in, but yesterday, the highlight at Moonee Valley was Scalacci. I thought, Keith, that this race overshadowed the Alistair Clark because of a single horse. I mean, the Alistair Clark was a great contest, but in terms of real class, it was Scalacci and the Stanley Wooden.
Yeah, it sure was, Bruce. We did see Australia's best sprinter on display yesterday. He'd beaten all his rivals before. None had beaten him. In the end, he toyed with him. It was his 12th win from 17 starts. His stakes now 1.5 million. Every time he's been to the races, 17 times, he's earned at a rate of more than $50,000 a minute. So that's not a bad money machine, is it?
Trainer gets 10% of that. That's $5,000 a minute for you, Lee, every time he goes to the track.
It's helping the overdraft, Bruce.
Yeah, I bet you the overdraft's looking all right. Look, seriously, for a moment, he's going very well. I just wonder if he's going as well as he was. Do you know what I mean? I mean, yesterday he won by a length. He beat you, Matilda. I'm not being critical of the horse. He's done everything you've asked of him this time, but yeah. I don't know if he's quite got the spark that he had this time last year.
Well, it's probably a fair comment. I mean, last year, as a 3-year-old, he was carrying probably lower weights under the weight for age scale. And that always makes him look a bit more impressive. And I also think that, and I've thought all the way through this preparation, that he probably is looking for more distance. And I think he showed that in the futurity. And I think even in yesterday's win there was a sign of that too, because he settled so well and he was starting to draw away at the finish again. So, you know, I couldn't be happier. I think he probably should be unbeaten this time in. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting him up to Sydney and trying him over a bit more ground.
What do you do with him now? I know you go for the Doncaster, but long term, he's a 4-year-old gelding. Do you do a Manikato and just bring him back for 3 races each year?
Well, I think
or each season, I guess.
Yeah, being a gelding, you've got to just pick your races and keep the horse sound and happy in his racing and try and bring him back year after year.
Lee, 56.5 in the Doncaster. If you can run a mile, he's the horse to beat. So it's testing time at his next start, isn't it, the George Rider? First test beyond 1,400 metres, that's a 1,500 metre race. Yeah,
it'll be some sort of a test. It won't be totally conclusive because it'll be weight for age around Rose Hill. But if he can win that, he's going to look a nice proposition in the Doncaster with 56.
With less than weight for age,
yeah.
Sure.
Do you get as much kick out of training a champion sprinter as you do a champion stayer?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. I mean, the only difference between
doesn't last as long.
What's that?
The
thrill
race.
of watching it.
Oh, the thrill of watching it? Oh, well.
I just wonder, because there's so much for naturalism to run in and superimpose, yet for this horse there is a little more restriction, isn't there?
Well, there is, and I think it's a sad thing in Australia that a 2-year-old that may end up being a fairly average racehorse later on can win more than this horse has already won running around in all the premier sprints.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, it's just so wrong that there's so much money for 2-year-olds and so little money for 3- and 4-year-olds. Wouldn't it be great if we had a 4-year-old championship where they were running for 3 million and the 2-year-olds were running for 500,000? It would make more sense, wouldn't it?
We could talk all day on that one.
We could, and if Masquet wins the Golden Slipper, you might want to argue the other way.
I was going to say, a very strange statement for the trainer of the second favourite.
It is. Well, let's have a look at Scalacci yesterday, and he is a great horse. There's no question about that, and every time he goes to the races, he generates excitement.
For the 900-metre mark, Scalacci on the inside has taken on for the lead by King Marauding. A length clear of Noble Lance, for a length and a half, Umatilla, being followed by Mr. Cube on the outside of Soho Square and Razor Rhythm, and tailed off Chevelle Cavalier as they come down the school side. 700 to go. King Marauding went to the leader. Scalacci a second, looks to be going nicely. In third, Posse over on the outside. Noble Lancer followed closely by Umatilla making ground. In behind them is Soho Square over on the rails, and they were being followed by Razor Rhythm and Mr. Cube as they race up towards the home turn. 500 metres left to go, and Scalacci burning through in the centre has taken the lead, tackled by Umatilla. In third place is King Marauding, there followed by Noble Lancer. Soho Square is back behind them, Mr. Cube followed by Razor Rhythm. Round the turn they come, and Scalacci a half length to Umatilla as they straighten up, and they're well clear. In third place is Noble Lancer followed by Soho Square, but it's Scalacci. Scalacci over a length to Umatilla, battling on gamely. Soho Square's finishing on well, but this grey is much too good, Scalacci, and breezed home to score. A length to Umatilla. Third home is Soho Square.
Well, the more you look at it, the more impressive he does look. And Soho Square, I think, was the other run from the race.
Yeah, that was a nice run, Bruce, but I thought you were a very hard marker, being even the slightest bit critical of Scalacci. That was a top performance.
He's a top horse, there's no question about that. The Alistair Clark Stakes, much closer. Gee, how Pompey looked the winner on the turn, but I guess the fact that he was jumping from 1,400 to 2,000 told against him in the last 100 metres, and the winner is a little bulldog, Saracen.
Saracen, yes, it was a great ride. He did look as though he would be rolled, but Patrick Payne, as he prefers to be called now, got the last out of Saracen when it mattered most, right on the line.
He sure did. Lee, you don't have a real quality 3-year-old stayer this time in. Naturalism won this race last year, Durbridge the year before. They went on and won the Derby. It's just doubtful if the winner can win the Derby, but Our Pompey could be the horse to come out of it because he ran very well in the Victoria Derby.
Yes, he's obviously a staying type of horse, but I think for those horses to go on to Sydney and win the Derby, they've got to win with a bit more authority than that. And I think both Naturalism and Durbridge did win with a lot more authority than either of those horses put.
Lee, is it pot luck the way a big stable pans out, or do you try to select horses to be in all groups?
No, I think you just, the horses that are racing now at 3 are horses we bought 2 years ago, so it's basically what you buy or what you get given that determines what you've got that season.
You really can't afford to have 2 generations not working for you. You can get away without having a top 3-year-old, but if you don't have a top 3-year-old, 2-year-old together, I think that's why David Hayes has struggled to have a really top group horse at the moment. He's getting lots of winners, but he's had that 2-year break, and you can't suffer that. Your 2-year-olds have got to go on next year, don't they?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Okay, let's look at Saracen's winner. It was full of determination. Our Pompey, a very good run.
Escanaba dropping out upheaval last of all as they come up towards the home turner. 450 metres left to run, and Saracen tackled quickly on the outside by Our Pompey station hander. Kenny's Best Pal is finishing on, followed by Pine Red, a long gap to Air Seattle. Our Pompey on the outside has taken the lead with 200 metres left to go and kicked away from Saracen, is battling on. They're well clear of Kenny's Best Pal, and from a long way back then down the outside Air Seattle. Saracen is kicking back strongly on the inside. Our Pompey, Saracen, they go to the line locked together. Bobbing finish might be Saracen from Our Pompey in a tight one. I think Pine Red may be third.
Winner's been in work a fair while, hasn't he? So it's been a good training performance.
Very good. I mean, we had a horse called Kalini that ran into him in December, I think, and the horse is still up and racing very well, so he's done a great job.
He's the son of the 1986 Melbourne Cup winner Atalac, so he might stay, Bruce.
Yeah, he's got tremendous determination, and that always helps. You can get some extra distance if you want to win. This horse wants to win too. Let's go to the Australian Cup of last Monday. Durbridge is leading, Lee's horse, one of the 2 he had in the race. Fraz in second place. Viander Cross is 5th at the moment. Now, Lee, I guess you were having a look at mannerism, you're looking at Durbridge, but you would have been keeping your eye on Viander Cross as well, because your jockey was riding him, Mick Dittman. No one was absolutely certain which way he's going to jump, Naturalism or Viander Cross, and also from a Naturalism point of view, you wanted to see how well this horse was going. How well is he going?
I think he's going well. It's going to be a bit hard to line up the form between him and Naturalism because their first up runs were very similar. His subsequent 2 runs have been impressive without being over-impressive, and I thought Naturalism did a very good job yesterday, so it's a little hard to line the form up, but I think they're somewhere around about what they were last time.
Keith, there was a moment at about the 300 where there was a question mark, wasn't there?
There was, Bruce, but Viander Cross, like any good horse, like Naturalism, does produce at the finish. I thought it was a fantastic run. They're going to clash. Well, is Naturalism going to run next Saturday?
Well, at this stage, he's certainly going to
So
run,
that's the clash we've been waiting for, and it's a prelude to the big one, the BMW, the Rambit.
And who will Dittman ride?
He'll ride Naturalism.
Definitely.
Yep.
When did you get that commitment?
Oh, can't tell secrets, Keith.
Have you had to twist his arm?
No, not at all. I mean, he's had a great relationship with the horse and with the horse's owners, and I think it was always just a flirtation with the other horse.
What we all want to know, though, has he actually said to you which horse is the better horse?
No, he hasn't.
He hasn't. So it's really a commitment as much as thinking Naturalism's going better than Viander Cross at this stage.
I don't know if there's as much of that in it as a very rare commodity in racing being some loyalty, and I think he's displayed a fair bit of loyalty.
Fair enough. We take a break. Max Presnell will join us after this, and we'll look at Naturalism's win in the Canterbury Cup. Well, talking racing with Lee Friedman and Keith Hillier. Joining us from the Sydney Morning Herald, Max Presnell. Welcome, Max. What did you think of Naturalism yesterday?
Oh, Naturalism never lets anybody down. He had his critics at Canterbury. He was struggling to beat Thrifty Reserve. Thrifty Reserve is an old-timer, handy old horse, but certainly not a great horse, and Naturalism did have his critics, but I am a great critic now of the Canterbury track. Yesterday's Canterbury track made a lot of good horses look bad, but Naturalism was able to overcome it. I'm a Naturalism supporter. Yesterday, next Saturday against Viander Cross, the Arc de Triomphe in the Japan Cup. I want to be with him all the way.
The world's the limit. The world's his oyster. I want to ask you a question about Mick Dittman yesterday. There's been so much publicity surrounding him during the week, his back problems, all the rides that he is going to have. A, his form yesterday, and B, he seemed to get a fair bit of attention during his races.
Oh, well, Mick's entitled to get a fair bit of attention. He is a champion, as Naturalism got. But I don't think... just firstly on Naturalism, I know Lee Friedman was critical of Sydney jockeys attending the Naturalism. It is traditional for the favourite to get a bit of attention. Certainly Kevin Moses on Upwards gave him no piece, gave him no quarter, but rode within the rules of racing. Naturalism is good enough to overcome that. Mick Dittman, yesterday I thought he was just slightly off his game. He was checked out by the club's doctor before the race. His back was found to be a little tender, but not enough to stop him from riding. When I say he was a little off his game, I don't think it affected any of his mounts. He's certainly good enough to get Naturalism home, but I still don't think it was vintage Dittman.
Lee, you were critical after the race, saying that the jockeys pushed Naturalism out wide. I've got to ask you, I mean, what did you expect? It's a short price favourite who would have had them covered. You couldn't have expected an easy run.
No, I don't expect any quarter in races, and I don't really want to expend any more energy worrying about what happened yesterday, other than that I thought a lot of jockeys over the entirety of the day tended to get this thing in their head that they had to be 6 and 7 and 8 deep to be able to win, and I mean it just made racing quite farcical towards the end of the day.
Well, Max has made a good point then about the track then, because...
Oh, it was a disgrace. I mean, some people went to vote, others went to see the Canterbury moat. Just near the rails there, you had no hope if you're drawn in wide. You watch as we have a look at the races, the Canterbury Tails will unfold. Bruce, it's hopeless near.
Gee, you must have been working on that one all night, the Canterbury
Tails.
Yeah. I read that book once, I think. Let's have a look at Naturalism win. There were some worries, but the thing about him is the quality comes through at the end, and right on the line, he looks really good.
900 metres out in the cup, and it's Gifted Poet the leader. We Talter's a length away second, a length to Sensory Rain, a bit more than 2 to Upwards, followed by Naturalism, who's 6 off the lead as they start the run up the hill, and then Daydale on the fence, Mountain Rule being niggled a bit, followed by Thrifty Reserve, and then Diego and Garter King, and Galilei drops out last as they race up the hill, 500 out, and Gifted Poet says catch me if you can, in front by a length and a half, nearly 2 now to We Talter. Sensory Rain's in third place, followed by Upwards. Naturalism is starting to cruise up on the outside of those. They come around the turn, although Dittman's giving him a little bit to do now as they swing for home, and Gifted Poet straightened up in front of We Talter. Naturalism is now called for the big effort. He's struggling a little bit to get on terms with these leaders, and further out Thrifty Reserve. Now Naturalism hitting top gear is coming at Gifted Poet. Gifted Poet still in front. Naturalism is getting to him. A little Thrifty Reserve on the outside. Naturalism has grabbed the lead, and he got there by enough to swear by. Naturalism has won from Gifted Poet, and Thrifty Reserve on the outside, pretty tight for second, followed by We Talter, Upwards and Sensory Rain.
Well, like all outstanding horses or sports people, he did find something on the line. Kevin Moses had a bit of a reply to you in the Sydney papers this morning.
Yeah, he just wanted to remind me that I was in Sydney, and I'd like to thank him for the lessons in geography, and perhaps next time I'm up there he may take me for a tour of the sites.
He may well do that, but well, it was a great win in the end. It was. I mean, I say a great win. He beat Thrifty Reserve by a neck, but he had 60 and he did cover a lot of ground. So, well, next week, Max, who's going to be favourite?
Now that Dittman has declared Naturalism, certainly I think Naturalism will be a shade of odds on. But yesterday's result, I do think, will make it much closer in the betting, for which I'm thankful.
And who's going to ride Viander Cross?
Well, Mick would like Jim Walker, the New Zealander, to ride Viander Cross, which, from Mick's point of view, I think is a very wise decision. Of course, Mick would like to get on Viander Cross and the Queen Elizabeth and perhaps the Sydney Cup later. But that, as I said, that will be very interesting to see who rides Viander Cross. I would say if Jim Walker does ride Viander Cross, well, it could ease in the market.
Well, Rough Habit, is he likely to run? I'm just wondering about Cassidy. He's got a great relationship with Wheeler. John Wheeler, why wouldn't he be putting his hand up for Viander Cross?
Well, I would say most of the top jockeys, including Shane Dye, would be putting their hand up for Viander Cross. But nevertheless, Cassidy has been mentioned in dispatches, and I would say that would be resolved in the next 24 hours.
Who would you be putting on Viander Cross if you were John Wheeler? An Australian jockey, a Sydney-based jockey, or would...
My 3 kilo apprentice, probably.
Fair, I thought you'd answer like that. Let's go to the Canterbury Guineas, which was the feature race in terms of prestige, Group 1 and prize money. And the New Zealander, very impressive, Kingston Bay, and he's obviously on the way to the Derby.
Shigala's last and will have to do a super job as they come to the corner. Imposing Bull is the leader from Salcantay. Irish Rort in third place, followed by Kingston Bay. Innocent King, Flat Chat, so is Navy Seal. And then Hall of Fame and Telesto as they come around the corner where Imposing Bull dash clear. Imposing Bull put 3 lengths on them at the 200 mark, is clear of Kingston Bay on the outside, followed by Irish Rort and then Hall of Fame. Imposing Bull stopping. Here comes the little Kiwi, Kingston Bay. Will he do it again? Yes. Kingston Bay sweeps to the lead and he's racing away to win the Guineas brilliantly. Now, Innocent King has flown in the last bit to be in a photo with Imposing Bull. Irish Rort close up. So,
Max, is the Derby picture going to change each week? Are we seeing the fittest horses winning at the moment?
Yes, I take nothing away from Kingston Bay. I think he's an outstanding 3-year-old. He's proven that. He's won at weight for age. He'll be very competitive in anything he races in, but I do think you're going to see improvements on the Canterbury form. Apart from the fact that a couple are winding up. Raising Kentucky, your horse, Bruce, was still fat yesterday, has got to do something in the Rosehill Guineas. Perhaps he will. But certainly that form yesterday, I think, could be misleading, and there are a couple of others that are going to get fitter.
You're pretty impressed with Kingston Bay?
Well, I thought he won well yesterday, and his win the start before was done with authority, Bruce. I think he's a very good horse.
The Derby's fallen away a little, Reading not there and Coronation Day going on for other things, so it's the picture will change a bit. Let's look at the Canterbury Stakes. Big Dreams keeps his high rating in the Doncaster by winning, and just see what you think of this performance. They didn't run any faster in this than they did in the 2-year-old fillies earlier in the day.
Coming up the hill, 500 out in the stakes, and You're My Spirit the leader. Provocation second. Big Dreams is now going up 3 deep. On the fence, Classic Magic, followed by Spearman and Cavalier together, about 3 to Mocker and 2 to Azuro under heavy pressure. Coming around the turn now, and You're My Spirit is joined wide out by Big Dreams with Provocation between them. Closer to the inside, Classic Magic, but coming to the 200, and Big Dreams got to the lead. Old Cavalier's the danger, if any. Cassidy getting to work on Big Dreams. Cavalier's going to make a race of it. Big Dreams is about a length in front. Cavalier can't get any closer, and Big Dreams, hands and heels to the line, wins the Canterbury Stakes by a half length to Cavalier. 2.5 away third, Spearman in front of Provocation.
Well, what do you reckon, Max? Has he improved? He's now winning races. He doesn't quite finish the opposition off.
I think he's winning races. I think he's a good racehorse. He's not one of my Doncaster horses. I've still got my doubts about Scalacci getting 1,600 metres. I'm not dropping off him completely. He's a great horse. Great horses can do remarkable things, but nothing Scalacci did yesterday enthused me about him in the Doncaster either. No, I don't think those 2 races at Moonee Valley or Canterbury were great Doncaster guys.
What did Scalacci do wrong yesterday, Max?
It wasn't the fact that he did anything wrong. He's a great horse, Keith. I'm not bagging a great horse. But that was a sprint race, not 1,600 metres. I don't think he had a great deal in reserve. The Doncaster is a much tougher test, but I'm not dropping off him completely. We'll have a look at him and the rider and we'll assess it then.
Have you dropped off Bint Masqué? That's the next race we're going to have a look at in a moment. What do you think?
No, Bint Masqué, I thought was a shade disappointing, but there were excuses. One of the excuses Mick Dittman gave me after the race was she was horsing at the barrier, which, Keith, as you would know, is not a real good thing to be doing before you're racing.
I would know nothing about that, Max. Just know that your tie's 5 years old. It's obviously a 50th birthday tie and you're still wearing it.
Yeah, well, at least I've got one on. I haven't gone Toorak trendy like somebody down in the studio.
Well, you're the trainer of Bint Masqué. Tell us about it.
I live in Ascot Vale too.
It's a long way from Toorak.
Yeah.
There's a river in between them.
That's right. No, initially I was disappointed, but I thought, you know, the way the pattern of racing evolved over the day and the fact that she went through her first 600 metres so quickly that, you know, it wasn't a bad effort, and I think she'll improve a lot at Rosehill, particularly if she's ridden a bit more quietly than that.
A lot of people were worried about her action in the last 100 metres. No problems?
Well, I mean, that's her. She's not Shinsaw, and that's just the way she races.
She's the one closest to the fence and in front. Did that take its toll, Lee?
I think it did, and we weren't to realise that until later on. I think the
race won, yes.
Yeah, and the winner's obviously a smart filly and had a lovely quiet run on the rail early and got out, you know, late in the metres.
Well, interesting, because the slipper scene is just changing each week, and what generally happening is the horses that have been racing in Melbourne are going up in the markets, and the ones that have been racing in Sydney are going down, aren't they?
Yeah, it's interesting.
The colts yesterday, we look at this now, Max. Dancing Dynamite didn't have any luck at all. Magic of Money just got flattened and then gave up, or I'm not sure if he's injured. But LA Glen, 100 to 1 pop, you know, he's obviously still big odds now for the Golden Slipper. Your assessment here, can we draw the line through everything that ran in this race and say they can't win the Slipper?
I wouldn't say they can't win the Slipper, but I don't suggest anybody goes out and has an early bet on the strength of this form. Magic of Money, incidentally, Bruce, had a heart attack.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't realise that.
As you see here, Dancing Dynamite isn't comfortable in the ground. Mick Dittman doesn't seem to be comfortable to my eye. I do think he can do a shade better. The ground closer to the fence is obviously slower, so those out wide have an advantage. And as you will see, Dancing Dynamite has ability. Now, watch Mick here. Is this vintage Dittman? He got the whip tangled in the rain, but I just feel that it wasn't one of his better days yesterday, Mick, but being the champion he is, I'm sure he'll be 100% spot on for naturalism next week.
Well, the times were slow. Yep, the times were slow. Then the Slipper market, Lady Jackie at the top from Bint Mask, a Rock Review into 10 to 1. What's happening with Gold Bros and Social Path? Because they could hold the key to the market.
Social Path barrier trials at Rosehill tomorrow. If he comes through it as Brian Mayfield Smith suggests he will, he'll race in the Todman next Saturday. Gold Bros, well, very, very much a query horse. Gold Bros, of course, is having hoof problems, has been sore. Trainer Frank Lewis is just waiting for this to subside, but as he said, it's time. It might take 2 days, it might take 2 weeks, it might take a month.
And Keith, any more news on Keltrice and Lady Jackie? Are they going along all right?
I think they are, Bruce. Keltrice has had some shin soreness, but Lady Jackie-O's flying, and she deserves her top rating on the Golden Slipper chart at this stage.
Thanks for your time, Lee. Good luck for the rest of the autumn. You've got some wonderful horses, and best of luck next week. It's going to be some race.
Thanks a lot, Bruce.
It's like two heavyweights, isn't it? Getting them together. Fraser and Ali, or Hillier and Presnell, perhaps. You wouldn't pay to get in to see that one, would you?
Heavyweights.
Thanks,
right.
Keith, and for the scones and Max, we'll talk to you next week. Might even see you next week at the races, Max, with a bit of luck.
Look out for you.
Good on you, mate. We'll take a break. Back with more after this.